Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC. Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together. Come, we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Non-partisan, cause
So good evening, Uniters, and bear with me. We're, we're having a bit of technical difficulties. Internet has been out for basically 2 days in the area, so I'm trying to use my mobile phone as a hotspot and get our documents up for this evening's show. But I'm really appreciative of you taking the time to join us. If not, just drop us a line in the comment section. Let us know what you're seeing, what you're hearing, while we work on adding our documents to today's live. Now, if that doesn't work, of course, I'll just have to go through with you and show you what we have discovered. As usual, it's nothing pretty. It is damning, to say the least, where we're able to find our government again not paying attention to our people. So, it is a very sad thing to be represented by persons who care so little for our welfare and so little for the people of this country. Now, we all heard about that report out of the UN that characterized the Canadian farm work program, the temporary farm workers program, as akin to modern slavery. And it's difficult to conceive that for a people that were once enslaved, we have once again found ourselves in the same position. We heard about those farm workers who stood up for their rights, those brave farm workers who stood up for their rights and were dismissed and sent back to Jamaica. Now the government is scrambling to save face. So we're going to look into that issue. We're going to explore what has happened and show you what should have happened, what a caring administration should have done instead of the spin doctoring and the misrepresentation and the misinformation that they have fed us. And just to point out, this isn't a modern phenomenon. This isn't this issue alone, this recent issue. This has existed long before. Because researching this live, we see where the Canadian program was being criticized long before now by the people and saying that it lacked the necessary representation in terms of the rights of those who participate in the program. Sorry about that. So we're going to look into that tonight. Now, as your town crier, I'm definitely gonna have to bring this to your attention. Make sure you understand, dissect all the issues relevant here, and make sure you understand what the various points are. Apologies again. So before we get into it, let me just take some time to thank you for being with us. And while you're here, if you're here for the first time, please just like and share this link with someone so they can be so informed. And of course, subscribe. And if you have a minute or two, when you have a minute or two, pop over to our website and check out our manifesto. The UIC is Jamaica's third registered political party, the United Independence Congress. And we seek to bring genuine change. And we ask you not to be caught up in the hype of the season, what you're seeing and hearing out there, but be focused on genuine change. Now, if you notice, my title has changed, and just to update you on a few things that is happening in the UIC. So, because of my hectic schedule at work, uh, I had the conversation with the president and the national executive, and we agreed that a role that allows more flexibility for family and work is more appropriate for me at this time. So the committee decided that they would love to have me continue as vice president instead of chairman. So I'm no longer the chairman. That honor now belongs to our representative, or former vice president for Middlesex, Dr. Coretta Brown Johnson. So she's now chair, and she's doing a tremendous job so far. Tonight is another meeting with her in charge. I'm the deputy chair as well, but uh, you know, Dr. Carter Brown Johnson has that covered. So we're trying to bring the talents that we find into the organization as we work through getting our best footing to represent you. And of course, these changes will get ratified at the next AMC. So persons who aren't members yet, remember you get to vote directly. You don't get somebody coming to you and say, hey, I will be the delegate, so go ahead and vote for me to go and represent you. You get direct voice regardless of where you are in the world. As long as you're a paid up member of the United Independence Congress, you get a voice in who is running the organization. So let's work on that. Okay. So tonight we definitely wanna get some serious talking done. So let's start now with what I have on the screen for you. And I'm gonna go full screen and go back and forth. So join, so bear with me, right? Now, what you're seeing on your screen is the two minister of labor that we have had in recent times. One is the young and dynastically linked Colonel Charles Jr. Yes, you heard the name right. His sister and father are stalwarts, as they would call them in the Jamaica Labour Party. I'm not here to advertise for him, just to have you understand who he is. And of course, the other gentleman is the aging dinosaur called Samuda. I understand that, he is, of course, of the dynastic involvement in the movement as well. Now, Samuda, Mr. Carl Samuda was the Minister of Labor when this matter first came to Jamaica's awareness. Before that, it was of the awareness of the Canadian people and other international bodies. Right? So when it came to the public in Jamaica's awareness, consciousness, Mr. Samuda was the Minister of Labor. And what I'm talking about is the fact that the Canadian Temporary Farm Workers Program was abusive. I knew that because I have friends and relatives who go on the program and they tell you how terrible it is, how hard they have to work in frosty conditions, in cold conditions, sub-zero conditions, how they have to layer up multiple layers of clothes, how they get frostbitten from having their hands in the various products. Some people are lucky enough to work in the greenhouse where it's warmer because, as you know, a greenhouse is a microclimate and it's created to be warm. But those who are unfortunate to have to be out in the fields, in the open fields, suffer terribly. Now, Mr. Samuda was Minister of Labor when this thing got so big, so nasty, so abusive that the Jamaicans started writing home and sending voice notes and said, listen, boy, we can't manage this thing. Right? And we all know that they're part of the government and has been part of the government over the period that the government has been in power, 2 terms so far. Now, When the farm workers cried out, the first thing Mr. Samuda did was take to the press to use his office to reject their claims of abuse. Yes, he didn't look into it. He didn't say, let me look into it. He didn't try to meet with them first before making any public pronouncements. Immediately, he just dismissed their claim. So much so that the farm worker said, listen, this is a slap in the face, man. But what do you expect from these people? They have been selling us out for, at that point, 89 years, 79 years, sorry. So did we expect them to automatically grow a conscience and a heart and say, let me check on my fellow Jamaicans? We would have been delusional if we expected that, and those who expected it are delusional. They did exactly what they usually do, true to their nature, to sell us out. Again, they're part of the plantocracy, part of the PSOJ oligarchy system that of control, that ruins our lives and exploit us in deepest and most profound ways. Just the same way our ancestors were being manipulated and abused, but they're doing it in a new way, and that's why they're called neo-colonialists, new colonialists. Okay, so yes, I tell the man, I'm saying, not go sabah, so the top in eyes and go sit down. You understand? But here's the thing: and this thing has been going on so long that there are at least two associations in Canada that looks out for what they refer to as migrant workers. Yes, the Canadian citizens were the ones that were so concerned that they created associations to help highlight what is going on with migrant workers that come to Canada. While our minister, who is supposed to be responsible for our people under this system, is saying, nothing was to shut up and go sit down. Okay? And when this association lashed out against Mr. Samuda's statement, then guess what? He needs to do damage control. So automatically he went into damage control mode. Going into damage control mode, when he decided that, you know what, boy, let me see how I can see a face. And of course, in trying to see a face, this is what came out of it. You have somebody who was brave enough to make a statement, and this person called Muta Baruch. I'm hoping you can hear the audio. Uh, if you can't, I'm going to have to submit it to you. But this gentleman called Muta. All right, so let me know if you were hearing that audio just a while ago. I'll go back to the rest of it for you. All right, but just drop it in the comment section. Let me know, so I'll be able to tweak my system. Because remember, again, we're having some issues. And Naika, if you're there in the background, let me know if that audio had come through. So if you heard it, you heard what the complaint was of the abuse and the UN report. All right, thank you, Marlene Duffus. So no audio. So my technical problems are more serious than I believe. So I'm going to attempt to narrate for you. So this gentleman had called Muta Baruch and his cutting edge program to outline the problems that the farm workers face. Right. All right. So now you guys making a suggestion as to how to fix that. So let me also try to do that as well. Right. Right. So he called Muta Baruka to complain and tell Muta what is going on. And you're hearing now that the boss, the owner of the farm manager, if you will, saw a worker smiling and told the worker that he needs to take the smile off his face or he will slap that smile off his face. You can imagine that. Um, I'm seeing a issue here. Let me work to solve that. Just bear with me. Yes, so big man I get offered box from the boss. The white man offer the black man box. Imagine that. Now, if that was you, what would your reaction be to as an adult who have spent your life garnering certain respect? You've been told that then will box smile off of your face. Eh? How would you feel about that? What would your reaction be? Can you imagine how that Jamaican felt when he was offered that box. Can you imagine how this person felt? It must have been a very heart wrenching situation for that person. You understand? Just to be told that, oh, listen, you smile too much, so we box you in your face. Hmm? It had to be terrible. So we have a set of leaders who don't really care what happened to us. So they leave us to the whims and fancy of the world because they are getting their comeuppance. They are getting taken care of by their rich friends. What are we going to do about taking care of ourselves? When are we going to realize that our politicians are not here for us, but rather the rich people who put them in power? And it's that realization that will save us from a fate worse than death. You understand? So we need to look after ourselves. Now, in a situation like this, how do you look after yourself? We can teach you that. We can show you the way forward. Okay? I'm trying to get this thing to work because I want you to hear that audio of what that man had to say because it is very incensing to big man offer another man box. All right, let me see if my audio will work now. Apparently not. Ay, ay, ay. But anyway, the audio went on to tell about the trials, about people having to sleep 3 and 4 in a small bunk space, right? People where they're denied medical care, where if they complain, they they are treated poorly. I even have an audio and a video showing the farmer, and this is the most recent incident. The farm manager threatening the workers, and these were the workers that got sent back to Jamaica. All right, they got dismissed because they stood up for their rights. Yes, big Canada, supposed first world country, and the president has more experience working in Canada, so he can even enlighten us as to what the labor relations are like there. And I know for a fact that labor relations in Canada is very progressive. Do you know that males in Canada, for example, get paternity leave? When my second child was born, I got 1 day paternity leave, 1 day paternity leave to assist my wife, right, who had surgery. And in Canada, men are getting paternity leave equal to what the women get. So they're able to stay home as a family and assist each other. So imagine your wife had a difficult labor and needs assistance. In Canada, paternity leave is equal to the male. So, it's very progressive. So what would have happened why Jamaicans who had gone there to work be treated so poorly? I can tell you. One, we're not properly represented in their labor scheme. Strongly worded contracts between individuals and organization or groups of individuals and organization which guarantee certain rights and considerations. Contracts is the norm. The system is designed to have a government who has vast oversight, right? But little knowledge or experience in that sphere. Okay? That is the first thing. Very little knowledge or experience. Because the Ministry of Labor, their role is oversight, not employment solution. And they got into that field because they needed to prop up their government who was failing to show that they can get jobs for the people. So here they are going around the world and sourcing these very low-end jobs, just like they do in the BPO sector, which the president spoke about the other day. Just like they do in the BPO sector, it's the same thing in the farm sector. And the farmer program existed long before. Because as a boy, I remember relatives and friends and members of the community that I lived in going on these farm work programs, getting hurt, getting injured and can't work. and even getting killed. I'm aware of even relatives that have died on these programs. Okay? As a matter of fact, the biggest reasons why people used to go on these programs wasn't because of the compensation, because it wasn't great. Unless they found special favor with their boss. It was to get an opportunity to travel so they can run off, as we would say. And many tried to make a better life for themselves through that means, where they go on these programs and then abscond, abandon the program, and then now they move on to creating a better life for themselves. So that is the basis under which most people used to go on these programs. So now here we are in the modern day where all of this is catching up with us, where the inefficiency and what should rightfully be termed as the inability of the government to maneuver in these spaces is being highlighted. Okay? So let's look at this now. So the minister found out that Jamaicans are being abused, threatened physically, and and when we look at the UN report, and we have all of these documents, by the way, we can share with you if you wish to read them. We have the UN report. It was a very lengthy and exhaustive search, but we found it. And several other reports that we'll make reference to that you'll find very laughable. But here we are. Evidence has emerged right after the minister tell our people to shut up. Nothing now go so. We're not talking about one or more of our people were able to come on the Jamaican airwaves and broadcast to the world what was happening to them on these programs. So what did the minister do? Immediately he has to backtrack and circle around and try to save face. In doing that, no, he would have reached out and say, you know what, let me just go ahead and figure out how to fix this thing. In fixing this thing now, he would have said to his people, boy, something need to be done. And they came up with a quick plan. And here it is. I'm trying to transition here. There we go. And here it is. He went to Canada to speak to the workers. Here is the minister surrounded by workers. And we can only imagine what he's telling them, because he said everything was fine. You know, you can look at the body language and you can see how disinterested most of them are, because they are the ones living the reality. So they are not very impressed with what is being said. And here's the minister and his crew, well dressed, well polished, looking at them and trying to convince them that everything is fine. And I won't use the usual vernacular to describe the situation, but in the streets they would say that, you know, someone is you know, let me leave that alone. The UIC Liberty TV is a proper medium of information, so let me not be colloquial. But so the minister went to Canada to convince the people that everything was okay. Eh? And when you look at it, this is why he would want to do that. Look at those figures. In a country where unemployment is rife and rampant, where the people need something to do, and where the politician sees this as a means of ensuring vote. Because remember, you know, to get one of these farmer cards, you have to go to the MP or the councillor, not the person in opposition, not the challenger, not a social organization or a civic organization, not a church, not a school, but a politician. So look at these figures and you'll understand that this is a scheme to keep them in power. As usual, instead of teaching you how to fish, they fish and dole out to you the fish they want you to have. Okay? Do we know if there are positions available here as farm managers and they only give those jobs to their friends and colleagues? I'm just asking. And then send out the farm work, the field work to their constituents, the people who they want to quote unquote bless with a little work and a card for go foreign. And you know most Jamaicans, they just want one opportunity for go foreign because one, the exchange rate work for them, and two, they think the grass is greener. So they are always looking to run off. So these figures are what tells you his motives are going to Canada and his mini vacation, because if he didn't go there to solve the problem, he didn't go there to work. So on his mini vacation, this is what he's telling the workers, that boy, things are good, man. Look at the amount of come here and mash up the thing for Jamaica, man. Just chill and hold the vibes, man. Hold it down. Just make some money and come back a yard, man. I can imagine that's what he's saying to these workers. Okay? But here we are. Because of the outcry and because of the continued outcry, he decides that, you know what, let me send some of my friends on another vacation. So he decided that, I'm going to send a fact finding mission to figure out what has gone wrong. We don't need a fact finding mission. The facts were already put in the public sphere where the persons indicate what has been happening to them. Okay? So he still didn't believe the workers, and he wanted so much to prove that this program was a success for Jamaicans because he's employing a lot of Jamaicans. Not that these fellow Jamaicans that are being employed are being abused, but that they are being employed. After all, it's not important what condition they're serving, it's just that they serve. Right? Just like in the days of chattel slavery. Now, here are his friends. So he picked up the who's who of his PSOJ oligarchies, friends and connected ones, to send them. Okay, here they are. The sellouts that are in the union and other former trade unionists, I can tell you that my trade union and I didn't get along because I saw them as sellouts and I held them to the highest esteem of representing the workers in the truest sense. I remember telling my trade union general secretary that he doesn't work for the company, he works for me. And if he doesn't act as instructed, he will be removed and another union brought in. And of course, he didn't speak to me directly from that time until I left the company, or well, left the bargaining unit, because I dared to speak to him like that. Okay? So here they are. Look at the names, note the names, and as you go through the various media reports over the coming months and the coming weeks, you will see these connected people echoing various sentiments. For example, Mr. Chen had a lot to say about the government's economic policy and how good it was. I've heard him. Okay? So these are the who's who of the oligarchy. So they sent them to find out. Now, which one of them money look like them a farmer? They know how to farm. Which one of them? Hmm? So they went there to suit the government agenda and create a particular narrative. And a narrative they did create. Here's the chief architect. So this fact-finding group came back to Jamaica. And in coming back to Jamaica, they put together a report. That is the executive summary of the report on your screen. The entirety of the report, the UIC has that in its archive and is willing to share with you so you can read it page by page. Now, this report wasn't readily available. It wasn't on the Parliament website, even though it says the minister submitted it. Okay? It was a detailed archival search by the UIC that turned up this document because we knew the document existed. So what is in this document that they're hiding? Their lies. At the bottom of your screen, the orange section highlighted in the executive summary, at the bottom of the screen, it is enlarged for you. And they said the findings revealed no systemic slave-like conditions existing on any of the farms visited by the team. The overall assessment of the conditions of the Jamaican farm workers were described as good. However, the team discovered pockets of poor labor and industrial relations conditions, particularly in the province of Ontario. Now, what does it mean to have poor labor and industrial relations conditions? The report didn't specify. That wasn't specified in the report. Rather, we are left to figure that out for ourselves. And when we look into it, we can figure that out for ourselves, what it means to be in a poor labor and industrial relation condition. It means that poor labor conditions mean the conditions under which you work, you provide labor, are poor, are adverse, they're bad. Okay? And then, of course, industrial relations is how you relate to your boss. Okay? So the relationship between the workers and their bosses were poor. So if that was the case, how comes they're declaring that the conditions were good? They gave themselves a caveat, because they only said, we only found this in Torah in Ontario. So if they found that in Ontario, how many farms in Ontario did they find it on? That was in the report. And they referred to it as a pocket. Okay? So understand this. The fix was in from day one when they sent their friends on this wild goose chase to come up with a justification for their propaganda, to spin their narrative. Okay? Now, when they went through all of that trouble, come back, sat down, because I mean, we paid for that trip. How much did we pay for that trip? Hmm? Let's look at it. The last time I traveled to Canada, an economy ticket worked out to be just about 1,200 Canadian dollars round trip. One. All right. So and that was a long time ago, by the way. A long time ago, more than 5 years ago. So let's look at it and assume, say, all right, the travel economy, the ticket was $2,000 round trip Canadian, spending money per diem, and you know all the money is the government give you. You understand? I know because I used to work for a government agency. Okay? And you go out and you travel and you get paid and you get per diem and your all your expenses, including your accommodations and your meals, are paid for. It's a vacation. Okay? So they went on this vacation and come back and told the people a pack of lies. Submit this report as an official report to Parliament and say, listen, these conditions for our people are good. Okay? So our conditions are good. So if our conditions are good, then why are our people complaining? Nobody stopped to ask that question. But we need to figure it out, and the UIC will figure it out today. Because we know for a fact that our people aren't complainers. We know for a fact that our people do their work when they're given their work and they expect to be treated fairly and will be treated fairly. So, what is the story here for them to come and tell such a lie that findings reveal no systemic slave like conditions? But I'm calling it a lie, right? But you might think it's true. So, let me go to the next step and for you to understand what is happening. Here we are. This is an extract from a video posted on a Canadian news site that shows sewage water, water from a toilet, water from a clogged toilet is sewage water. Okay, it's not fresh water, it's not potable water. That's sewage water. It's referred to as grey water. Okay, if it went through the toilet system and through the toilet drain pipe, then they call it black water. Okay, so this is grey water. That's a sheet hanging there. That's somebody in a water boot walking in water. That's their living quarters. Okay, and when you look at the various reports available, this one doesn't have any audio. This just shows you the condition that people are staying in. Look at these bones. No privacy. People in the cardboard like some sort of shanty to create privacy. Okay? Just rows and rows of bed. Now we understand what a bunkhouse is. That is multiple people living in one huge open land space. Okay? Now, in the army, for example, they have the same open plan but tasteful curtains on navy ships, even on merchant vessels, you have the same open plan space, which is bunked, but it is way more amenable. You have a little curtain you can draw for privacy, a little table that you can store your items in, and you are set up in a space that even though it's small, it is usable, it is livable. If you look at this is just one large enclosed shanty town. And because the workers dare to complain about it, they were literally deported back to Jamaica, bundled on a plane, and sent back a yard because they needed to be penalized because they're uppity Negroes who got out of place. They got too big for their britches. Okay? And they needed to silence them. Now, in between all of these happenings, Mr. Samuda demitted his portfolio thanks to the Prime Minister. I don't know how good that was for us or how bad that was for us, but he demitted his portfolio. Okay? And we're left with now the Fresh Prince, the new guy. Okay? Yes. And what the new guy had to say? Nothing. During all of this was happening, he had nothing to say. He didn't pick up what was left off. The ball his colleague dropped, the mistake his colleague made, he didn't seek to correct it. Okay? He left it silently for our people to suffer in purgatory for the hell that we face, giving our blood, sweat, and tears to a foreign country, bringing that foreign exchange to Jamaica that they can in turn boast that the country took in X amount of foreign exchange and our GDP is this and our net international reserve is that. Right? They left them to their own devices without any protection from the wolves. Yes, left them all alone in the wilderness. And you hear them boast about the stats. Now, when this new minister took office, you'll ask what happened to the technocrats in the Ministry of Labor? Did they say to him, hey, minister, what did the permanent secretary say to him? Did the permanent secretary say Minister Samuda had promised a fact finding mission and the report came back and he tabled the report, but boy, these things were off. So shall we look into it? We don't know because our civil servants are muzzled and those who aren't muzzled are incompetent and who are not incompetent are in cahoots with the politicians in their negligent, self-serving, hyper-political acts. And I won't be too overflowery in our language because I need you to understand that they left these farm workers on their own. And these guys got deported back to Jamaica. And it's a couple of days ago, the new minister is meeting with them to discuss what has happened. And guess what? The other day took action on their own because say Jamaican don't take no foolishness. Right? Now, they had a temporary work permit to work in Canada, but yet they were deported back to Jamaica instead of given the opportunity to work elsewhere. Why do you think that was? Hmm? They were bundled up and sent back to Jamaica. They embarrassed the farm, they embarrassed the government, so they have to pay. It's government badness, we call that, don't it? Yeah, so somebody have been penalized and typical, true to form. The arsonists now come to put out the fire. So them get the people them deported because they choose to leave them on their own. So they are the root cause of the deportation. So now they're there to save them, to help them with their complaint, to help them get redress, to help them, to help them, to help them. Just like the bulldoze the people them house and come back, come give them one like one bedroom. Or come back and say, all right, we're going to give you a chance to own the land. So if they can get a chance to own the land now after you bulldoze their house, when they never get a chance to own the land when their house did stand up on it. So again, the fireman, well, the arsonist is now the fireman. That's what I call it. So them burn down the house, them burn down the thing, then set the thing ablaze, and then run come calling the fire, bring the water. We need that to stop. We need that to stop. I see somebody say, I'm in Toronto, Ontario. What do we need? Because UIC must win. We want a republic. Understand that the republic that we want, Monica, is a genuine republic. We don't want their fake republic that they're pushing right now. We don't want the fake republic that they're giving Barbados. We want a republic that is true. And a true republic is one that protects your right, my right, everybody's right to life, liberty, and property equally. So the minister won't be any better than me. So this minister in a true republic would have been sued because he would have lost his qualified immunity. Okay? Because he would have been negligent in his performance. So he would have been brought to books. Right? But I give you better than that. When we get to the UIC solution, I'll tell you why this was not the best fit. This was not the best arrangement for these farm workers. Okay? So bear with me while I get to that part. Now, let's look at our honorable minister and where he has taken us in this thing. Because you and I know that this kind of living condition and something where Jamaican used to. Right? You're walking in sewage water, you're walking in filth. Okay? Because you don't serve what they want. Now, there comes a guy that the United Nations High Commission, the United Nations Human Rights Commission refer to as the the rapporteur. I, I hope I pronounced that right. He's an appointee that serves about a 2 year term, and his job is to speak as an expert. You hear that? As an expert on particular matters. This gentleman on your screen is the current rapporteur that is the expert on contemporary forms of slavery. And contemporary forms of slavery is just a fancy word for modern slavery, as in the system being used to take from you instead of a mutual exchange. Because remember, employment is the mutual exchange of labor for capital. My labor for your capital. But the exchange has to be mutual. Now, some people will trick you. And when you believe there's a mutual exchange, it's an unequal exchange. It's an inequitous exchange. It's an exchange that takes value from you, but add extra value to the other person. And that is why a contract is such a powerful document, because it protects both parties' rights and allow and make sure that there is an enforceable agreement, that there is offer and acceptance of terms. So you have to offer your terms clearly, and those have to be explicitly accepted by the contracted party. So the contracting party say, say me need you to do this, that under these conditions. And the contracted party say, yeah man, me understand those conditions and me accept the remuneration you're offering me. So that is how it's supposed to work. And this guy is an expert on those things, right? The modern day forms of slavery. And he said that he has looked at the working conditions at farms throughout Canada, and it is contemporary, a contemporary form of slavery. Yes, look at him. This is the gentleman, the expert that has said that. And if the expert says so, it must go so. Because our minister of labor, who was supposed to be that kind of an expert, apparently didn't understand what was to be done. And his replacement has been silent. And now his replacement wants to put together another fact finding mission to send people to Canada to find out what has already been found out by somebody else, another mini vacation for their friends and connected ones. Yes, it's a cycle. That's how they rip us off. You see that? Now, imagine a system that is structured different. And here's the system where the Ministry of Labor is not sourcing jobs for people, but rather certifying private employment agencies owned by qualified individuals in the field, qualified business people who are able to go to these places, because the Ministry of Labor don't have the resources to send to all of these farms. So these employment agencies will now have the responsibility for, one, certifying the farms and the conditions under which their workers will work, negotiating contracts on behalf of these workers, advertising the terms to the general public, and then recruiting people and assisting them in getting the credentials to go and participate in these programs if they so choose. Not the ministers giving a card to a friend here in the community, and a card to a friend there, and a card to a supporter there, and his sweetheart brother, and his illegitimate son, and whomever else they want to get to prop up their party and keep them in power. Doesn't that sound like a system that would serve the country better and serve the people, and would have the rights of the workers protected, because they'll be backed by a solid contract recognizing that jurisdiction because of the nature of which it was structured, where this private entity having access to private lawyers and other resources that is able to put together a solid contract that protects the right of the worker, ensure that there is a mutual exchange of labor and capital, that there is offer and acceptance, just as in a true republic. That sound better. A government can't be everything to everyone. And our government, in trying to fool us, is trying to be everything to all of us. And each time they try, they fail miserably. And instead of us demanding that they step back and accept the true role of government to provide common goods and services needed by the population, we fall for their trickery and their spin doctrine. Now, let us be wise to their plans, be wise to their games. Let us understand that when the UIC speaks of true freedom, we speak of it in every sense. And we are not seeking to manipulate the people of this nation, but seeking to open their eyes to what true freedom is. Some people say when we speak like this, we are speaking ideally, right? Or ideas are idyllic. They're not. It is the way that a true republic is structured. Look at the closest republics we can see. They're not true republics, but they're close. And you will see this very strong link between contractual rights and individual rights. And that is what we need to ensure. The favors would not work. They can't do favors for everybody, all 3.2 million of us, if not more. They can't do a favor for all of us. They can only do a favor for a few of us, and it's only the connected few they can do those favors for, because it brings returns to them. We want to provide favors to no one, but rather an open system that everyone has a right to access and that will serve everyone equally. That's the kind of true republic, a non-partisan constitutional republic, where you can work, earn, and retire in dignity. That is what we offer. Isn't that something better to aspire to? And if that's something to aspire to, tell them say time up. Mandela Park, half a tree, 22nd. Be there to make your voice be heard. And if you can't, send a friend, send a cousin. Me personally, I drive a 8-seat and I'm taking it full of people from my constituency to be there to express ourselves. We're not looking for favors. We're looking for an open economy where the government is not gatekeeper for the rich. Jamaica isn't underdeveloped because we're not bright. Jamaica is underdeveloped because if you come up with an idea, there's no capital unless you can raise it, and which is difficult to raise if you're not connected to somebody richer in politics. It's time that the future of our young people be assured. How can we go to America and England and all over the world and do so great, whether it's a physical activity or it's an intellectual pursuit, but at home we are stifled and we don't see that? We think that, Jamaica nice. Jamaica is only nice for those who have a godfather in the system protecting them. The rest of us, we have to face the slings and arrows of life, because just like in the days of slavery, the system is designed to keep us locked out. In America, you won't see somebody driving a $30 million car. They'll probably drive a $2 or $3 million car, and the rest is invested in somebody's idea to make them even more money. Out here, if you're not from that small circle, your idea gets ignored. Your government cracks down on your idea if you push against the grain to get it done, because you're too black to succeed. Right? You've heard that before. Yes. Isn't it time we change Jamaica? Why are we jumping up at their conference that they spend $50-60 million to put on? Where did they get that money? What can that money do for the country? It is time that we invest in a political system, have political reform that allows every candidate to, one, meet the people on equal grounds. A publicly funded campaign system where when you choose to be in active politics and represent the people, all candidates enjoy the same level of coverage by the media. No private donations directly to candidates or party, but to a publicly funded system. Everybody is on the same debate stage. Everybody has the same print media, the same broadcast media, the same visual media access. And all they can do now is come to you with ideas. I see people leaving. I hope it's not because I've offended them. But if they have left, I still have to speak the truth. Now, I had a question earlier. Which farms in Ontario are these that are involved? None of the news medias that we are able to come across named the farms. I guess everybody's worried about being sued. So I don't have the names of the farms to give you. So let's assume that all the farms have some skeletons in their closet until we know otherwise. So let us keep working to improve our lives. Let's call them out on their wickedness. Let's make sure that the government, the people in power knows we have the power. They have the perception of power. If we don't spend our money in their establishment, they don't go anywhere. We complain about non-Jamaicans coming and taking over our business and that they have more opportunities to start business than us. Okay, then what are we doing about supporting each other to start our business? The UIC has a great idea. How many of you have looked at that idea and reached out to your councillor candidate or your MP candidate and say, hey, I want to start this community capital club idea in my community? How many of us have done that? How many of us decide that we will work together regardless of? And what you'll hear in, boy, Jamaicans can't do this. This evening I was on the way home and I saw two ladies I know through my mother and they asked me for a ride. And I gave them a ride. And I used the opportunity to talk to them about the state of affairs and the UIC. And when I told them about Jamaicans working together and that the UIC dream is to bring Jamaicans together, they said, no, that's what Jamaicans can. And I said, no, Jamaicans can. It's because we say we can't. We need to come together. We need to come together as a people. We need to find that common thread, even if it is the complexion of our skin, and let that be the inspiration that brings us together to better the lives for the next generation. That is the dream. That is the ask, and it's not an impossible dream. Our brothers in West Africa is doing that right now, and they're doing it at greater peril. Right now, they are under the threat of international hegemony. There are guns pointing at them right now, and they're still doing it. And we're in a land where we can tell the government very choice words. And we're sitting down and saying, boy, the system can't change. Don't be lazy, my brothers. We were kings and queens before we were brought to this land. We built great cities, great libraries, great art, great architecture, great pieces of infrastructure. We were conquerors before we came to this land. And we need to revive that spirit within us. And we need to start here at home and fix this land, then fix this region, and then fix Mother Africa. Come on, we can do this. We just need to stand up in unity. Right? Since the so-called pandemic, I have taken a vow based on the teachings of Joseph L. Patterson not to allow any business, any establishment to weaponize my hard-earned money against me. And I'm proud to say I've stuck to that. It has been hard, but I've stuck to that. But you can do it too. Let's do it together. Let's find the solution. Yes, the Marcus Garvey solution. So now, let me give you a chance to tell me what you want to see or ask me a question. Let's go. All right, I'm looking on here. Yes, we can. I like that. We need to have that spirit. We need to get back to that conquering spirit. Okay? We realize that the two colonial parties have kept massive conferences. And by the way, right now the UIC is underfunded and we need donations. So again, let me just ask you, please contribute to the UIC. Please contribute to the UIC. Okay? Whatever you have, whatever amount, we look forward to it. Okay? So please support us. We want to be a party owned by the people, not by the rich. Because if you notice, the rich have donated to the colonial parties and they're able to keep massive conferences. We saw the last one the other day where $1 million was donated and they want $50,000 here and 100,000 there, and the big talkers should come. Right? We see what they do in this game. For example, when NCB was getting sweetheart deals to get farmlands in St. Catherine that they then want to turn into housing land to destroy the value of the land and reduce our availability of arable land. They were backing both parties in the last election. Even at that time, their workers were striking for better pay. So they didn't care about their workers because that what is estimated to be $72 million, give or take, could have done a lot for their workers through the entire Jamaica. But they chose to give it to the political parties because they expected to get from the political party. So then it's time you fund your own party to do what you want so you can get from your party. And getting from your party isn't an individual gift, but rather a general gift to all of Jamaica. A Jamaica that is 100% open for everyone to succeed. Just like it is in the USA and other places, but just better because you would be in a true republic that you choose your president and your right to life, liberty, and property is as important as mine or anybody else. I find there's a problem to donate more because of options. Let me apologize for that. We've been going through a rough patch with people spreading lies about the movement. We've been looking to overhaul our accounting system to make sure that you're comfortable donating to us. It is a terrible state. It is. But try our donation portal again through the website. It should be working. And we appreciate your patience. And thank you for sticking with us. We do appreciate you. We appreciate the fact that you take your hard earned money and share it with us so that way we can do what we have to do. It's a drop in the bucket. We have a long way to go if we're going to get over the hump. But guess what? Barack Obama took $1 from every American and became president. The UIC is asking that you donate $1,000 to help us get our candidates elected, just like they did in Holland. And I like telling this story where the farmers were under pressure from EU regulations and the government was against them, beating them in the streets, running them out of the streets despite their protests. And they said, okay, I see this. And they went and formed a party. And within 6 months of forming that party, they controlled the government. Right? Your UIC don't need to win all the seats right now. We just need to win enough seats for them to have to come to us to form a coalition government. In doing that, we are able to dictate how the country runs. Come on, join us. And now I'm going to have to take my leave. Bro, Jamaican people, family people don't care. And my brother, while I appreciate and understand your sentiments, we can't come with the negativity. If we start by saying it can't be done, it will never be done. Again, we were conquerors. Okay? Hannibal Barca, a black man, a black general out of Africa, crossed the Spanish Alps, all right, and went and conquered Rome. If he can do it, so can we. Okay? I saw the display of donations by that party. Yes. It was very vulgar indeed. The greatest movement since Marcus Garvey. Personally, support the UIC. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Spread the word. So we ask everybody here to share this live, to comment, to subscribe. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for spending the time with us. And we appreciate all that you do for the movement. Unfortunately, my time is up, and we look forward to another live. There's more to come. So stick with us. We'll cut the various issues that affect the people. Here, where on UIC Liberty TV, there's a town cry that will call out the wrongs and give you the UIC solution. Thank you again for being with us. Have a good night. Your presence is appreciated. Let me big up all who are mainstay, who are always here with us, and those who are joining for the first time. Good to have you. Look forward to having you back again. Take care. Enough love.